were trying to eat right and do all those kinds of things right. But here she was as a very young one, just a couple months old, dealing with some autoimmune stuff and an inflammatory bowel, more or less. And it manifests itself in things like blood in her stool and difficult days and nights for us. Our 2020 has been so challenging in so many ways.
Mm.
Being in the program at this time has perhaps been one of the most important things, I would say, for the next part of our life.
Hey, everybody, welcome. Today, we have an interview with Nick, and he's here to talk about the journey that him and his family has been on in the struggle with their 4-year-old dealing with inflammatory bowel disease. I think this is a very candid conversation of really the frustration that families face in dealing with their pediatrician, conventional GI doctors, conventional doctors about really complex medical issues. And being in engineering research background, Nick and his wife really took this on, and you are going to be amazed at how they came to this decision to join our program, where their outcomes are with their 4-year-old right now, and more importantly, where is Nick and his wife at right now? I can't wait till you see his interview. Hey, Nick, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your family and a little bit about your daughter?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dr. Maggie. My name is Nick. I'm an engineer by training and work in the Southeast in Alabama at a major utility company. And so I love data, and I love science, and I have a family of scientists. So my wife and I have 3 children, a little boy and then 2 little girls. And we're here because our youngest one, despite all of our best efforts to sort of decipher what was going on, we found ourselves with one that needed a lot of help in dealing with some underlying autoimmune stuff. And so we found our way to Dr. Maggie through lots of painstaking, long, difficult days and nights of dealing with it, and couldn't be happier. We've been having a lot of fun ever since.
Okay, so Nick, what's the age of your youngest?
So our littlest one is 4.
Mm-hmm.
We've been in the program for almost a year, so we got here when she was about 3 to 3.5.
Yep. And so what was the biggest frustration? What were some of the major symptoms or struggle that you were dealing with?
Our biggest challenge really began when she was much younger. We were already doing what I would define as sort of integrated lifestyle. We were trying to eat right and do all those kinds of things right. But here she was as a very young one, just a couple months old, dealing with some autoimmune stuff and inflammatory bowel, more or less. And it manifests itself in things like blood in her stool and difficult days and nights for us. And we had been to see all the doctors and the GIs and, had been through a pediatrician or 2. And despite all our best efforts, we were finding ourselves up. She was starting to fall behind in some of her developmental patterns and goals. And after all of that, difficult thing of dealing with diet and whatnot, we were in desperation to find someone who could work with us in sort of a systematic way. Like I said, we're scientists, we're engineers, we like to solve problems, but this was one of those problems that was just too many variables, and we needed the expert guidance of someone who had been through this on a grand scale and could help us narrow down our focus and take us down a path to success.
Question for you. Both of you guys are, very educated, very well trained, lots of data, and good researchers around this. What was your biggest frustration in dealing with the doctors? How many doctors have you guys dealt with, and what was the biggest frustration there in dealing with your 4-year-old?
We went through a couple of pediatricians. We went through several GI folks. We went through several allergists, and we were at the end of our rope. Basically, none of them could say anything other than, boy, you guys have really thought a lot about this, and good luck. Unless you were willing to have a conversation with them about a very sort of Western medicine, high, pharmaceutical approach. And we were just, very uncomfortable. Like, one of the first answers we got was, well, you have to stop breastfeeding your daughter. It's like, well, this just can't be the answer. And so I think our biggest frustration was we never could find someone to truly partner with us and walk down a path to really systematically create a solution that was durable and that didn't involve a lifetime of drugs. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a year later. I want to find out, where is your daughter and where's your family at with all this?
Well, this has been a great year for us. It's maybe been our best year,
Mm,
despite COVID and everything else. We found so much through this program. Um, in terms of the little one, she has just made continual progress. Not ever without a setback. We've had some trials and errors, but the beauty of it is we've relied on you to help us with that process, and so she is virtually symptom free now. I think we are well on our way to because she was in such a state. Some of our early data sets were difficult to discern, and so we're
yeah.
getting closer to being able to really do that thorough look at the data and make sure that we're like down to the 90 to 95th percent, getting it right. But I think the bigger thing for us has been what's happened is we've been able to see how through a systematic approach, we have optimism about her future and about our
Mhm.
family's future.
Mhm.
And it's really been able to, especially with the integration of the mindset program in the overall
Mhm.
effort here, has
Yeah.
been able to sort of integrate our family around this optimism of the future.
Nick, I think you and I talk about this where I think we think that we go to a conventional doctor or a pediatrician, they have all the answers. But the absolute truth is that they do not have a holistic functional approach or a system at all to deal with complex problems like inflammatory bowel, irritable bowel, or autoimmune disease in children. There really just isn't a systemic approach to this. What they have is really very minor offers of either medication, surgery, or more procedures. And the truth of the matter is, there is a systemic approach and a holistic approach that's based on functional medicine. It
Mhm.
exists,
Right.
but it just
Absolutely.
doesn't exist out there in the regular pediatrician or GI doc world at this time.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. And even in, we talk about a lot of this in our engineering environment where systems engineering, when you have complex problems, is the way to go.
Yeah.
And it starts and ends with this idea of a functional basis. Like, what is the actual output function you're trying to get? Don't just treat the problem, focus on the outcome
Mhm.
and use systems to get you there. And I think it's a beautiful method when you see it at work. And like I said, we couldn't be more.
Okay, so what were the top three most impactful things? If you had to name three things that had made the most impact, one, two, three, what do you think they were on her health?
I think the first one is the systemic approach, and all those things integrating around a philosophy of how you approach a problem is
Right.
huge. I think the second thing that is a really close second is a community.
What the
Being
hell is that in medicine? What is
exactly right.
community, right?
Yeah, community of folks. I mean, I could tell you how many conversations, how many long nights we had talking about being on an island alone with no one else.
Mm,
And
feels
suddenly we
that
find
way.
ourselves in the middle of this community of folks who have a common challenge, but have a common mission. And you can create community in any way like that, right? I mean,
Hmm.
from all over the country, all over the world. And then I think, the last and enormously impactful thing though has been this mindset piece for us. It's how do you integrate your physical health with your mind to create sort of an abundance
Hmm.
view of the future that you can lean into and grow with and be excited about with your family and with your community.
So, what you're saying is we
Mm.
successfully changed the way you and your family thought.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And my
Yeah,
deal is if you don't change what you think and focus on, that can't grow. Like what you focus on grows.
absolutely.
And being able to change your focus like that for you and your family, that's pivotal. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's your favorite thing about being in the program with us?
Oh, that's easy. It's
Yeah.
obviously our Wednesday night chats. Yeah. Again, it's this community thing for me, right?
Mhm.
And there's so many layers to that. So I'm a big extrovert. My wife's a big introvert. For me, it's just fun to get on and give Dr. Maggie a lot of hell. But it's also the other side of that is seeing my wife, who's a big introvert,
Mm,
but seeing her be able to grow and enjoy and explore with the other folks
mm.
on the call. And I got to tell you, I'm the only guy on the call, and there's sometimes the conversations can get very interesting. Uh, but that's fun and it's cool and it's great to be a part of my family's progress in that way. Learn something about how, my wife's perspective in things, right? Hearing other wives talk about their family and all those kinds of things, it just creates a great environment. So for me, for us, I think hands down, the mastermind calls are the best part.
I got to tell you that it's fascinating when when you have a 4-year-old that's in the program. I'm not regularly interacting with the 4-year-old. I'm regularly interacting with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a fascinating journey to watch the two of you grow. And there's been tremendous growth for the two of you. And it's beautiful to watch. I mean, as much of a pain in the ass as you are sometimes.
No, I think we would agree. I think our 2020 has been so challenging in so many ways. And I think being in the program at this time has perhaps been one of the most important things, I would say, for the next part of our life. What we've been saying a lot about 2020 is it's given us an opportunity to question the things we assumed weren't questionable.
Right.
And I think that autonomy, that independent thought, that perspective in many ways grew out of the conversations we've had on the mastermind calls and everything else. And I think it's created a beautiful future for us.
Love that. Okay. Think about this. What is something that your family or your child has done recently effortlessly that a year ago that you would have thought was impossible or extremely challenging?
We're homeschooling. Yeah. So this is one of those examples. The stress of having the little one who was always sick and we were struggling with, how to manage school. She needs to be in daycare, the big kids, what about foods, packing lunches, all those kinds of things. And again, partly it was COVID, partly it was a lot of other things, but we were able to see the progress, embrace that we were able to work through that and go, okay, well, if we can do this, then maybe we can do lots of these other things. And we question why that had to be an assumption. And we don't know if we'll stick with it. We don't know if it's right for us long term, but just being willing to lean into this idea and we're not running away from something, which I think is really beautiful. We had talked about like being fearful of going back to school. That's not what this is. What this is leaning into what making this decision offers us as a family. And I think a year ago, we would have been much more fearful of the uncertainty of doing it than we were optimistic about what could come from it.
One sick child in a family presents a whole hell of a lot of chaos into the system.
Yep.
So it is almost impossible to homeschool any child, much less many children in a household if one is really sick. Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this interview with us and sharing so candidly about the journey your family's been on for the last year. It's honestly been a pleasure. I have just enjoyed working with you guys tremendously, and I love seeing the progress that your little one has made. So thank you for sharing this. I hope you enjoyed this interview. And if you found this helpful and you think that there's someone that could benefit from hearing this interview, go ahead and put their name in the comment section below. They may not listen to you, but they may listen to me or they may listen to Nick. Sharing is caring. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, go ahead and join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. There's a community of kick-ass people in there. We're at this time of this recording 30,000 plus in the community, which is huge. And to learn more about our program, you can visit drmaggieyu.com. We'll see you in the Facebook group. Have a great day, everybody.